So this is going to be an odd presentation. So I'm going to start off saying, I'm here as a missionary. And what had happened is my students came up with this idea. So at some point, I've done this a bunch of times, either you go with your students, or either you walk the walk, or you tell your students, well, I've taught you this for 10 years, but it's something that's not important. So I'm going to look at everyone in this room, I'm going to tell you the truth. 90% of you are going to think what I tell you is worthless. That's okay. 80% of hedge funds fail, not because they build good models, but because they can't run the business. So for the 80% of you in this room that built models and failed, and I built models. My last model I built, the Alpha, is running $20 billion 15 years later. Same model. So if you don't think this is important and you want to build a business, that's your business. You'll go bankrupt. The second group here is insurance people. I am here to sell insurance to some of you people. And when you look at this, it's very simple. You have one question to ask yourself. Do you trust the quant? Then if you're a quant, do you trust the programmer? And if you're the programmer, do you trust the trader? Because if anyone makes a mistake, you have large, large problems. Personal financial problems in the United States. And that will be here too. Which brings me to the last group. There's about 2 or 3 in this room that may listen to me. You're going to become Honda. You're going to become Toyota. And you're going to be the people who realize you're not buying insurance. You're not doing this to try to stay in business. This becomes your lifestyle. And if you build models like this, and you run your business like this, you will survive. So, 189,000 is the start of an ISO standard. So, it's really interesting in the United States, in the world now. The regulators are saying, if you have a problem, how are you going to fix it? So Taleb comes out and says, the Babylonian solution was kill the builder. If the house falls down, you kill the builder. Good idea, right? The Romans had a good idea that after you built the bridge, and I'm an engineer, you have to sleep underneath it when the troops go over. So if it falls, pretty good. If you look where the regulators have gone to, and if I have regulators here, I don't want to offend you, and if I have reporters here, I don't want to offend you either, trust me. Their solution to the problem is, if something breaks, sue the firms. In the United States, they've gone farther now. Sue the quant. See, if you're a quant, or you execute in the U.S. markets, and your programmer makes a mistake, you are personally liable. There is no corporate shield anymore. So, if you read this from, and I can't say his name, but Kuzan, he's the one that left the SEC lawyer, he wants to sue you for weak controls. Notice the word is weak controls. It's not broken models, it's weak controls. I have S&P, I apologize already. The government wants to sue $5 billion because they had a bad model. Now, I don't believe their model is bad. I don't even believe they deliberately made a bad model. What I believe is they made a model, people were complaining whether the model was accurate, and now you have a bunch of emails going back and forth with no process. I will tell you what the lawyer will get you for. No process. They're done. They're going to pay a fine. The question is $1 billion or $5 million. So if you run, which a lot of you do, an advisory firm, once S&P pays that $5 billion, guess what? I put your house in trust. I'm not joking. In Chicago, a lot of people have put their house in trust. The last one is the news reporters. Every news reporter says it's always the quant, it's the programmer. Sue them, throw them in jail. These people are out of control. I don't believe that. So when you look at the two worlds, you have the lawyers and then me. The lawyers are pretty simple. Let's sue them. What's the next thing they want? Minimum resting times. Okay, my trader made a fat finger mistake. Now I have to leave it in the market for half a second? Does that sound sensible to you? The next thing they have is market manipulation has been defined as any runaway algorithm. So for those quants in this room that don't understand what I'm telling you, if your algorithm breaks, you have manipulated the market. If you have manipulated the market in the United States, you have committed a felony. Once you committed a felony, it's 5 years in jail. Hope you enjoy jail. I'll tell you what you're going to do. You are going to sing like a bird and take the $1 million fine. Because you're not going to jail. So they love the quants. I'm a quant. They're like, oh, what are they going to do? They're going to threaten you with jail time. So let's look at Deming. Deming is quality. He says drive out fear. Why are we driving fear into the model building business? The quants are getting fearful. The programmers are getting fearful. Do you think fear solves anything? I think fear solves one item. Yep. Okay. So if you look at this is a real crash. This is my favorite crash. This crash, now, what the government wants is intent. So you have to have, you do not have to show intent. Prior to this, you had to show that you manipulated the market. Now, if it breaks, you're liable. Pretty simple. It breaks, you're liable. So I want to know why, is there any reporters here? There's always reporters. They're not going to raise their hands today, they're going to hide you, right? That's okay. I want to know why you have not written a story to throw this man in jail. $2.6 billion loss. Why is this man not going to jail? Can anyone tell me that? I don't know. I haven't heard one news article on this where they say this person goes to jail. But if it was in this room, we'd all be going to jail. So the question I'm going to ask you to start with is, does this industry have a quality problem or do we have a safety problem? See, I'm an industrial engineer and I have a master's in finance, which is kind of funny too. So quality and safety sound the same, but they're not really the same. Quality is you're trying to get things not to break. Safety says when it breaks, I'm going to fix it. So do I have a quality problem or a safety problem? I actually think we have more of a safety problem than a quality problem. So, this, I don't know if you can read, I'll go pretty fast. So is finance, especially algorithmic finance, is it a Six Sigma process? Is it world class? The CMEs, who's helping us a bit, I can't say who's helping because nobody wants to say they're doing it, but they're all showing up to write the spec. I need more people to write the spec. But they won't say they're doing it. See, it's kind of a funny game we're playing right now. They say there's, I think, 300 million messages a day, which are bids and asks. You total it up, and you go through all the mathematics, you will see that the error ratio, even if I put 10,000 bad messages in, which is a lot, it's probably a lot lower than that, 10.8 e to the 7, you're above Six Sigma. The quality of the electronic trading systems and the algorithms is above Six Sigma right now. But we still have problems. So the question is, and this is the other thing everyone in the room, don't tell the regulators. All my friends in Chicago are in the first group saying, let's not talk about it, let's hide, let's not tell the regulators. Okay, I'm a high quality industry. You're a high quality industry, and you want to not tell the regulators that? That makes sense. Then let's go hide. Hopefully they'll go away. The lawyers never go away. I don't know how it is in Europe. I'm telling you, in the United States, the lawyers never go away. Once they got you, they're not going away. So this is really interesting. If you look at the SEC, they've been very quiet. We've approached them a couple of times. They're very, very quiet. They watch what we're doing, but they're very quiet. They built a thing called Midas. Midas has tick data. So currently the SEC has every trade that's traded in the United States at every exchange, and they can mine your data. If your broker goes, oops, over here, or your trader goes, oops, the SEC will find me in a couple months. They're going to find me. Depending how big the oops are, it depends how much they're going to find me. Once the SEC built it, I guarantee the European regulators will build the same thing very quickly. So what they want you to do now is they want you to test your outages. They want to test any disruptions. They want you to go start analyzing the failures. To me, it seems like they're becoming the FAA, aren't they? A plane crashes, let's see how we fix it. That to me makes sense. I'd much rather say a plane broke, how do we fix it, than say let's assume and hope they don't do it again. So, their question is, in Europe, is which standard do you write to? Do you do the SEC if you trade the US market? Do you MIFTA? Do you Dodd-Frank? Do you do all of them? Do you do none of them? The next question, which is really, really interesting for most of the people in this room, because you're money managers, is there's a thing I used to do back office. Friends of mine made me go to the restaurant today. And we did a SAS 70. So it won't be long before your clients are going to start asking you questions about your computers. We get 40 audits a year, and every single one, from every regulator, from every agency, wants to see our computers and how we test our software. So if you think you're a small shop and you can say, oh, I just do it in MATLAB and it's a wizard, guess what? You're not high quality, they're going to take your money away. Because the biggest risk to a small money manager is an algorithmic failure. So, which one do you pick? I don't know. Call me crazy. Call me a little crazy. I'm going to pick ISO. Why ISO? It's the standard every industry in the world uses. Why ISO? Because it sounds a lot better than saying the Chicago Trading Firm Association made a standard and I need it. As a lawyer, they're going to rip me to shreds. I show up and say I'm ISO certified, I run an ISO process, and then they got to start arguing ISO is garbage. So, there's a bunch of ISO processes. The best one you probably didn't know is ISIN is an ISO process. Did you know that? QSIP is an ISO process. Fixed protocol is an ISO process. So look at all the ISO processes. Food, chemicals, every industry in the world has one, except food. We don't have it. We're too smart. We don't need a standard. We're a bunch of PhDs. Now, because I'm sounding kind of arrogant, remember all the cartoons? It's always the genius professor who starts off going to conquer the world and he blows up by the end of the cartoon. It always happens. So, there is an ISO 9000 group. It's called AT 9000. We were going to do HFT, that no one wanted HFT. This is automated trading. It's starting to become automated finance. There's arguments on what we call it. It started by Jim North. Jim's the one leading it. He's the one who has experience in taking fixed protocol and making it ISO. Right now, it's probably 2 exchanges, 4 banks, 8 trading firms, a lawyer. There's probably about 20 people involved. We need more. It's growing every week. What we're writing is we're writing the standards. The goal is to try to have the standards completely ISO in 2 years. That's fast. So, why quality? What is a quality management standard? What it is our system. We, the industry, pick how we should run our software, test our systems, what's expected. I don't tell you what to do. I tell you what's expected. You have to implement it the way you want to implement it. 2, how hard is it? It's pretty simple. Document what you do. So if you have no documentation, I'll tell you what's going to happen. I'm being really serious. The lawyer's going to walk in and say, what did you do? The quant's going to say, oh, well, just stochastic calculus of the ZBD. Okay, $500,000 for him. What did you do? If you can't tell them what you can do, they're going to find you. 2, if you don't document it, it doesn't matter. 3, you need to show them what you did, so you need a record. And 4, you need to prove on an audit that you actually do what you say you're doing. It's not that hard. Why ISO? This one, I'll go pretty fast. This one really is just saying that ISO is a quality management system. We're following 9000, 9001, 9003, which is the software standard. We're going to try to take as much from ISO as we can so that nothing's new. ISO's Deming. The other way to look at this is some of you, it's really quite funny. I see all the quants who say, well, quality has nothing to do with quant. Deming was a PhD physicist from 1921, yeah. All the biggest, tons of your time series all came from quality. Fox, Cox, Jenkins, all of them. See, at some point, you got to take the math, and you got to make the math work. And that's what you're really doing. The big key here is, it's not how you do it, it's how you go about doing it. So what the standard is I write code. I check the code in. I test the code. I'm not telling you how to write the code. I'm not telling you how to check it in. I'm not telling you how to test it. I'm just saying you're going to do one of the above. 18,900, we decided that there was enough differences in this industry, especially for the ones that are routing orders directly to the exchange, and we needed our own standard. A good example of that is electronic safeties. What's your shut-off? What's your max order flow? All these things that the government are asking us, we decided we'd be better off writing our own. So what happened was, we took the ISO ones on the top, we took the FIA ones on the bottom, we took the FOA ones, we've taken the exchange ones, we've taken stuff from the regulators. What's really interesting is the Federal Reserve is actually one of the leading people doing this. Really comical. The CFTC and the SEC are kind of sitting on the sidelines. The Federal Reserve is writing the standard. It's probably because it's one of my students, but also the Federal Reserve, if you think about it, the banking industry follows ISO standards. There's tons of ISO standards in banking. So they have no problem helping write it. What's the goals? The goals is that if you do it, you should have a well-defined research development process. You should have operation controls. The next thing is this is really the second one, if I say this right. You have credibility. What this really is it's an insurance contract. The second piece is if someone comes in and something's broken, I can say I followed a process. The third one is who does it apply to? Right now we're writing it for trading firms, execution terms, ISVs, broker-dealers, clearing members, and now they're talking about they're going to expand it out to the asset managers. Just need an asset manager. You see the structure to write their piece. What's a good example? Okay, install verified operational safety controls. Now, I'm sure a bunch of you here don't use computers to execute your orders. So there's no need to have a fat finger protection. Or you bought your software and you think there's no need for a fat finger protection. More financial crashes in the last 5 years that they call HFT crashes are done by people who type the wrong number in. So of course you need a fat finger protection. Algorithmic behavior. The SEC and the CFTC is saying you have to stress test it. You have to know what happens if someone makes a mistake. Version. If you don't know what version, if you look at night traders, everyone saw that, $440 million. Like that. Like that. They're bankrupt. That was a version problem. They put the wrong version in production, the way I read it. They put their test version in production. So some guy goes, oh, I'll just push the software in. And he made a mistake. The funny thing is, I have not seen a lawsuit on that yet. Has anyone seen a lawsuit on that? My bet is, Knight's got a really tight quality system, and they're having a problem figuring out how they're going to sue them. Timeline, if we do really, really well, the ANSI standard will be done this year. So it goes X9/ANSI, which is the American standard. Then it comes over to Europe and Japan probably next year. And then we get the rest of the world to start putting in. So it's normally, the way it goes, one country does it first, then all the other countries add on to the standard. Now if you want to help us write the standard, there's no rules that says you have to be an American firm. Doesn't matter. You're going to have the way it's going to be structured is 4 pieces. First one's just real easy, fundamental, then you got vocabulary. The third one's going to be all the software pieces. The fourth one's going to be the harder one. It's going to be the risk management. I can see how a trading firm will have a different risk management system than a money manager, than a broker-dealer, than an exchange. So what's going to happen is there'll be a general 4, and then those will probably be written over the next decade. So it's a conclusion. It's voluntary. You don't have to do it. In fact, many of you will not do this until you decide in 5 to 10 years that you have to do it. It's going to be the best practices. The big hang up right now is how do I program? I don't care. You can do Agile, you can do MATLAB. It's agnostic to how you build things. So, any volunteers? My guess is people have questions. So it's going to be 500 hours, 500 hours to read. So what's your normal questions? If I write up the standard, am I approving the standard? That's a big fear. If I help write it, am I not approving it? No, you're editing a document that you don't have to accept. It's, again, voluntary. Why should I support it? Well, I'll be honest. A lot of my friends are like, I want to do this, but we're not going to support it. Okay. when the SEC lawyer shows up at your front door, you'll be supporting it pretty quick. So my suggestion is you either get ahead of the process, or you hope they don't take your house. Now I think some of you think I'm joking. They will fine you $500,000. Bit of a mistake. It was the quant started at a half. Not the firm, the quant. Can I be for and against it? Yeah, people are doing that all the time. They're helping, but then they're saying they don't want to be a part of it. That's fine. You know, that's how these things happen. So let's go back to the next one. What are they going to do to this firm? $2.6 billion. Can anyone tell me what they're going to do to this firm? Throw them in jail? I think they should go to jail. Write a bunch of newspaper articles on them? So if you think about what the government has said is, and it's right here, weak controls. What are they going to come after you for? Not the fact that you broke something, but that you have no controls. You have no documentation. For the older people in the room, you better hope to God your 24-year-old programmer doesn't screw up, because your money's gone. See, these people, perhaps these people had controls. This is Boeing. So I'm going to ask a question. How come Boeing can lose $2.6 billion on a battery disaster, crash the market, cause all types of problems, and no one's saying, let's sue the CEO for not understanding battery technology? Because everyone understands engineers have mistakes, and as long as you follow a good engineering process, the world is tolerant. So, I didn't expect this to happen. Okay. There you go. So, next question everyone asks. Do I need a 1,000-page document? Over here, if you use a 1,000-page document, you hired the wrong person. I'm going around the world. Find a machine shop, especially in Northern Italy. I'm sure you have 40,000 ISO firms in Italy, twice the number of the United States. Find a machine shop, 10 guys, hire the person who did their documentation. It will all be blueprints on the computer. It will be a tenth of the cost as if you hire some big, large consulting firm. If someone tells you they're going to write 100 pages, you hired the wrong person. Your whole document should be maybe 25 and a bunch of drawings. So what's your challenge? My argument is we need to build fast engineered products. And the key word here is we are in the engineering business. The next thing I argue is we need to build a safe track. See, if we want the retail customers to come back and invest with us and trust us, we need to build a safe track. We need to say, look, things break every day, but when they break, we have a process. When they break, we fixed it. The CME had a break last year, they fixed it. So, my argument is, and I'll wrap this up pretty quick, that whether most of you in the room want to do this or not, this is the next revolution. There is not one industry where once people started doing this, this did not become the normal. The leaders who accepted it early have been leaders for decades. The automotive firms that did not accept it have gone out of business. So the very end of this thing is questions. But I have one last question to all of you. Say, you can either join us, go to 189,000x9.org, join us. You can take the quality view of the world, or you can continue selling free puts to lawyers. And the last problem you really have selling free puts to lawyers is it's lawyers for bankrupt countries. So think about it. I'm a lawyer, my country's bankrupt. I'll go hit S&P for $5 billion a day. That will help pay some bills. And how about next week, once I get S&P, I get Moody's for another $10 billion. See, if you don't have a process, it's just open season. So I'm really serious to everyone in this room. Again, the majority of you are going to say, this doesn't matter. A few of you will do it as insurance, because you're smart enough to realize insurance is not a bad thing at all. The few, and that's what I really feel over, 4 or 5, are going to accept this, and they're going to become more leaders. And in 20 years, I told last night I take too short of a view of the world. Maybe not. In 20 years, you'll be world leaders, and you'll come back and say, I listened to you. And as a professor, that's all I can ask for. Any questions?
Should we become lawyers?
Yeah, you should. The two lawyers that are working on this are probably going to both have 7-figure practices. Because if you think about the amount of money that it's cost to defend the case against the SEC, it's probably $500,000 per case they'll bill. And my guess is the SEC is going to be pounds. So I would. But I do this first and then become a lawyer. That's what Zach is doing that, and he's going to have a booming business. Lance is doing it, yes?
Well, I mean, in fair disclosure, I work for S&P. So the question is, though, in terms of your sort of prediction about the fine, I think you said that you don't have to prove intent to defraud, but isn't it depending on Dodd-Frank, though? I mean,
yeah, after Dodd-Frank, there is no intent anymore.
Right, but
so you guys, you may be, and I guess I am pro S&P. I think what they're doing is wrong.
Right.
But I will tell you, as I said last night, pre-Dodd-Frank, that's what happened to us. They had to let us go. So the quant did not get that big of a fine. Post-Dodd-Frank, it's all games off in the United States. So I think what you're going to see in a lot of the stuff, they're going to start arguing, like you and a lot of people are going to argue pre-Dodd-Frank. But then they don't forget, it was scary, when they built Midas, they hired five programmers, 8 quants, and a team of lawyers. And that system is just designed to find problems. So post-Dodd-Frank, I mean, if you had a problem in 2010, I'd be either hiding quickly or trying to settle quickly. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
And again, I think what they're doing is wrong. I mean, it's an engineering mistake. I know this sounds silly. I'm an engineer. Planes break every day. Things go wrong every day. If you want to solve an engineering problem, you solve the engineering problem. Lawyers have never solved. Lawyers have never built a better building. Right? No offense when you're an engineer. You can't sue a building and stay up 1,000 years. Other questions?
Maybe I have one question. Comparing the framework within the United States and somewhere else in the world, you do not have the respect to have over-constrained, over-regulated reality of very high quality somewhere and a lot of freedom abroad, which will not solve the problem.
See, what I think is they're just, now you're going to go on a different path. I'm writing a different paper. I think what's going to happen is they're all going to converge. In fact, I think NIFTA is worse than the SEC right now on the constraints. But I think if you go back, Union Carbide made a mistake in 89, 85. And what they did was they applied standards per country they were in. And you see it in my slide, I went over it. And then they had Bhopal. And what they came back and said was, wait a second. Our quality standards, our ethical standards, the way we run our business is regardless of where we're in business. So if you accept 189,000, you would write a standard that covers everywhere that you're in business. And that's what's done now. Because then you have one set of regulators, you have one set of auditors, everything is done through whatever your master standard is. So I would write it at wherever you plan on doing business. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
So, if there are no more questions, let's thank Andrew again. Thank you very much. And we'll move forward to the next speaker, which is Diaman.